Yeah, we're live. Ta-da! Look, we're right over there. Look what's on the dyno. The 3800 is actually up and alive, and if you guys like, I'll go ahead and make a run tonight. But a couple of things. First of all, I have a question for you guys. In a previous live event that we did, we went over the piston flip. You know, the famous piston flip from Uncle Tony. What happens if we reverse the piston and it changes the dwell time and changes the piston position relative to camshaft and stuff. So I need some sharp guys out there. Uncle Squirrel, Tim, Steve, all the guys, let me know. What we're trying to figure out is I want to do this. I want to do the piston flip on the Magnum. But I want to be able to understand and articulate what changes if we do see a change in power. Testing it is very easy. All we have to do is put the motor up on the dyno, make sure that the thing is 100% perfectly repeatable. That's fairly easy to do. Make sure that the thing makes the same power every time. Then we go in, take the motor apart, swap the sides on the pistons. That's fairly easy. Put it back together, run it at the same air, fuel, and timing, and oil temperature and water temperature and all that stuff. That part of it's very easy. What we want to be able to do is what happens if there is a difference? What happens if it makes more power? What happens if it makes less power? What happens if it makes the same power? What we want to be able to do is talk about this intelligently and figure out what's happening and why it's happening. Now, I know if we change the rod angle, obviously we're changing a couple of things. So I understand that fairly well. We know that we could be changing the side loading, obviously on the piston. We're changing the rod angle. We're also changing the piston position, basically relative to the cam timing. So effectively, we're changing the cam timing. I do have one question, and I'm having a hard time grasping this, trying to visualize happening when I make this change. Are we cam timing? So if we see a change in power, are we seeing that because of the change in cam timing? Are we seeing it, you know, are we just changing the thrust loading? Are we reducing friction? I just want to be able to zero in on, if we do see a change, what exactly is that change? What is responsible for that change? You know, I've scoured the internet for all kinds of information, and people have told, everybody that I search always sends me the same thing. Here, take a look at this thing back from the Mopar days. That's not enough information. I need to be able to understand exactly what the change is. And Steve Knowles just tried to disconnect the stream. I want to understand if somebody can tell me what the pin offset is in the Magnum, first of all. And then if we flip the piston and change the pin offset, obviously from one side to the other side, how much are we changing it? How much are we changing the rod angle? And then how much are we changing the piston position relative to the cam timing? And I thought that we went over this, and I thought that there were a couple of guys who gave me this information, and I went back and searched through a lot of the live feeds to find out if I could get that, if I could look that information up, and I wasn't able to find it. So I thought that I would request that again for you guys and find out. I know I doubt the piston flipping does anything. We got guys on both sides. We got guys that guarantee that it's going to make a difference, and we have guys that are guaranteeing that it's not going to. And then we have obviously guys in the middle that they don't know. I'm in the middle. I just want to test it. I honestly don't care which way it goes. But if it does do something, I want to be able to say, hey, look, here are the things that you need to look at. Because nobody's been able to tell me scientifically and with proof that here's what happened and here's why it happened. And I would like to be able to provide that data, but I have to understand a little bit more about what the change is. Okay, Tim, the thrust loading change is exponential. If there's almost no change at 2,000 RPM, but 2 horsepower, 5,000 RPM, that's probably pin offset. Okay. So are you thinking that if we see a change in power, that it's just changed from thrust load? What about the change in the cam timing? And remember, this is with a stock camshaft. We're testing this with the motor that I got out of the wrecking yard. So it is a stock cam, and they're stock pistons. We can measure the pin offset. That's fairly easy. But what I want to see is what that change does. How do we quantify that change in terms of cam timing? So Dan, you think it's just frictional change? You think it's just side loading? William, average I found was 62 thousandths change. Did you see the Molly test? 0.5 millimeter offset will be the quietest and make the most power, more or less, and you'll lose power. So, but Dan, my question is, which way are they offsetting it then? Are they offsetting it the way that the factory does, or are they offsetting it the super cool, you know, old school Dodge performance, you know, trick, flipping the piston direction? We talked to David Vizard, and he said that he thinks he remembers testing it, but he doesn't know, but that he thought that most of the change was on the positive side. Tim, the cam time is like 3 degrees. It's going to be pretty negligible. Is it advancing? When we flip these pistons, is it going to effectively advance or retard the camshaft? Yeah, the ideal test would be multiple sets of custom pistons and pin positions. I realize that. And the ideal thing would be to run it this way and then run it the other way and then run it in the middle. And that would give us a good idea. But also, if we're changing multiple things, because if some of this power gain is from a frictional loss, is also some of it from cam timing changes? Because ultimately we're changing more than one variable when we do this piston flip deal. And so I'd like to know, where do we look for the biggest part of the power change? Maybe all of it is one thing. Maybe part of it is one thing and part of it is the other thing. You know, I just want to know what combination it is. And yeah, we know why they're doing it. We know it's for we know it's going to be quieter with the pin offset the way they have it from the factory. It definitely should be quieter. But you know, does that mean power? Yeah, Dan, we've looked at modern pistons, and I know that they change the skirt side to side. An asymmetrical skirt design is not unusual, but again, that doesn't that doesn't answer our question. So Tim, you're saying it effectively advances the cam by somewhere near 3 degrees? I do have the guys from UT Awesome sent a 3D printed throttle body. Is that the same level of coolness as a 3D printed piston? Oh, and the other thing I'm working on here, and I know the first comment people are going to make, so don't make the comment that the bypass valve is open, because that's not it, because we manually held it down. This thing is this is a 2004 L32 Series 3 motor with the Gen 5 blower on it. It has all the factory setup on it. We have the throttle body, you know, wired open for full throttle. It has the factory exhaust, as you can see. It's got 3-inch exhaust open with nothing there. So no inlet restrictions, no exhaust restrictions, but it does have all the accessories. So my question is, this thing's only making we're only seeing like 5 pounds of boost. Shouldn't this thing be making like 7 or 8 pounds? Because right now it's only making about 270 horsepower, which is what it's rated at. And normally when we run it, it's cold and open exhaust and open throttle body and stuff. It makes more than the factory rating, and we're not seeing that right now. So give me some ideas of where you think that the boost, if we have a boost leak, where it could be going. We don't think piston to valve clearance when we flip the pistons is going to be an issue. Yeah, all of the performance stuff is built on center. And again, the ideal test would be to do all of them. I don't think offsetting to the other side is necessarily the optimum thing. Otherwise, I think that the piston manufacturers who do testing and know about this stuff, obviously at a much higher level than I do, I think that they would be doing it if that was the hot setup. Yeah, it could be a worn out blower, and that's the thing that we were looking at. I'm not exactly sure how to test that other than put another blower on there. What was wrong with the 3800? What we did to fix it was we took the heads off. I took them down to L&R, and thank you, Derek, and the guys at L&R. We took the heads down, and they did just a surface cut, which did nothing. But the most important thing is they did a valve job on it and put new seats in it, because this thing had the seats were worn out and the valves were not sealing. This is not a screw supercharger. This is a root supercharger. Throw some spray on it. No, we have something even better. I'll show you. Here's what we have for it. Ta-da! So this is actually going to mount. This will mount right here. You know, perfect. Because if there's one thing that every supercharged motor needs, is a turbo, right? Every boosted motor needs more boost effectively. I don't know how many miles are on the motor or on the blower. Yeah, we know that we can put pulleys on it and do all that. What I want is it to be making the factory boost, in that, because for what we're doing, if we're going to compound it, I just wanted it to be factory boost to start out with. Make sure you get the Gen 5 blower. I do have the Gen 5 blower. As a matter of fact, I think I might have another Gen 5 blower. I wonder if I should just throw that on there. The turbo is a GT45. It's not an S480. They make 7 PSI stock and 10 to 12 is dual blown pump. Right now it's running on 91, and it's running on 91, and it has 21 or 22 degrees of timing in it. We did more than a compression test on it. We did a leak down on it after we put the heads on. That was the first thing that we did before we put the motor back together. We put the new heads on and did a leak down test on it, and it has essentially no leak down. It was maybe 2% or something. So it was a big change from what it was before. I've run one L67 on here before, way back. And I think it made a little bit more power than this, because it did make more boost than this. And like I said, I'm pretty sure that the boost should be higher than this. I'm thinking that this thing should be making 310 or something like that. The bypass valve, we stood in here and held it closed, so we know that that's functioning properly. We even adjusted it to, you know, hold it down tighter. It's down on boost because there's no restriction on the exhaust. Well, that's a good theory, except that it would be making more power than if that's the case. If it was a restrictive exhaust and it had boost, and you free up that restriction, even if the boost went down, which it probably would not, it would definitely go up in power. Yeah, we did a spray boost leak test. I don't think the belt would be slipping. It's a factory setup. Put the L67 blower on. I think I have another Gen 5 blower. West Tech is not very high. We're in Mira Loma, so it's I don't know. It's probably 1,000 feet or something. Okay, Tim ran the numbers with a 5.9, 390, and 6.2 offset. It changed the camshaft position by less than 1 crank degree. Okay, that's good. I'm actually going to take a picture of that. So we have very little cam timing change then. And you build a turbo and supercharged combo. That's what we're putting on this. I just want to make sure that the thing's right before we do that. Yeah, I have both an L67 motor and blower, and I also have a this. I think it's an L36 or an L32. Get the blades coated. Yeah, I can't do that tonight. This all. Oh, that's a good call, Tyler. I forgot about that. Lower injector O-rings. That might be something to look at. Have you done a video on variable valve timing? There are some variable valve timing stuff up there on the Atlas 4200, and then also on the LT1 and L33 stuff that's up. Did you see what I said about the U-bend and cat removal and how the boost dropped? Yeah, I've done lots and lots of exhaust tests on supercharged combinations, so I know what it does. The thing is, if the boost drops, the power goes up, and this isn't making power. So I more suspect a boost leak. Yeah, I think that this is an L32 motor, right? The recirculation, we kind of have everything blocked off. So after we measure the pin offset, then if it's 62 thousandths or less, then it's going to change the cam timing very little, right? The bypass valve is hooked up. The valley gaskets, like the intake gaskets, are in really good shape. Yes, it's definitely the wrong cam, which I wore today, by the way. So I want you to know that I'm doing some filming with the guys from Engine Masters. Yesterday was nitrous tuning, which was very cool, and on a 363-inch small block Ford. Today we did this was a cool one. We did single pattern versus dual pattern cams. So in honor of the cam test, naturally I wore my wrong cam t-shirt. So it was awesome. And the cool thing about the test is we ran single pattern versus dual pattern camshaft, and we ran them with 2 different sets of headers. So we ran the header test with each of the cams to see how the different ones responded to the change in header size. So it's kind of cool stuff. Tim, thank you very much. But we could be, I mean, the blower wore out, definitely could be a thing, or I'm going to check the O-rings right now too, because I did change the injectors. We have different injectors in it. you messed up with the super chat thing? No, that's good. Just if you have a question though, let me know what the question is. The Tim, the L67 was rated at 240. But this motor, the later one, the Series 3, I think was rated at 270. Yes, we have a turbo cam in it. I don't think that this motor was in the discuss thing. I'd have to ask David. On the dual pattern cam, we ran the same intake duration, and then the dual pattern cam had more exhaust duration. I haven't done anything with the Barra since I've taken it apart. There is some variable valve timing also on a Hemi. It was a we call it a Gen 4 Hemi, but yeah, a Gen 3 Hemi. It has variable cam timing. They did a camshaft in it. That motor actually belongs to Freiberger, and they did the variable intake manifold on it as well. So you want to see the blower? The blower should be a Gen 5 blower. Yeah, it should be a Gen 5 blower. It has the drive-by-wire throttle body. Were we going to look at that? Yeah. It is actually really drive-by-wire. The theory behind not having an intake and exhaust might be onto something. Don't lose the camera. I know it's happened before. Is the TBSS intake better than the LS6? Yeah, just marginally, although it doesn't fit in the same place that an LS6 does. Yeah, this is a returnless fuel system, which we're using. Yeah, it's definitely Gen 5. I mean, it has the right throttle body. It came out of a 2004. It's not an L67 blower. It's not a Gen 3 blower. Fast Hippo, you keep saying the same thing over and again. We know about the Fiero. So, do you guys think that the piston flip then, do you think that the cam timing is a non-issue? This motor is all stock. All I did was go to the wrecking yard and pull it out of the motor or pull it out of the car, and we put it up on the dyno, and it didn't have good leak down, so we took the heads off. I tried doing the Ritchie razor blade rebuild, and that didn't work very well, or at least I thought it didn't work because I thought that this thing was down on power. Turns out that it's still done on power, but it might be from something else. It might actually be from injectors or something else. So I'm going to take a look at that stuff. But tonight I'm going to try to put the turbo on this. And then tomorrow there's a Magnum that I'm doing with Engine Masters, and we're doing a test on the kegger manifold versus a dual plane manifold with a cammed Magnum. So that will be an interesting test. And then we're also running a number of carbureted dual plane intake manifolds. We're going to run the Mopar Performance M1, we're going to run the RPM air gap, and then also another one which I think is Professional Products or one of the other guys. Yeah, it is an L32. That's what it is, Tim. It's a 2004. We are running 22 degrees, I think, right now on timing. Okay, Tim. So less than 1 crank degree of cam timing change. Okay. Yeah, I do want to test cams in the 2.2 stuff. I haven't measured we haven't put a degree wheel on it to find out. Yeah, but Joseph, we're running the thing cold. It has an open exhaust. It has an open throttle body. It's, this is kind of an optimized environment. Tim, do you think the piston isn't going to come up, it's not going to come up any higher in the bore, right? If we change the offset? His supercharger spinning the right way. I probably should check that out as drawing vacuum. So 65 Musi, you mapped it. The speed to and from is different. So it's changing the rate of acceleration away from TDC? Just when it arrives at TDC, it will change. Well, but if it arrives at TDC at a different time, it's going to be a different time relative to the cam timing then, right? Kyle, the difference between a blower shop blower and a Whipple is they're completely different designs. One is a roots blower and one is a twin screw blower. So the twin screw blower is going to be much more efficient. If you look at it, it has a twisted kind of screws because it looks like it has screws inside. They have internal compression. They have a lower discharge temperature basically at any given amount of boost. And they also have usually less parasitic loss associated with driving the supercharger. So the twin screw ultimately can make a little bit more power at any given boost level. Normally they're run for different applications because a guy putting a big 671, 871, 1071, 1471 usually is doing a different thing than a guy putting a Whipple on. You're more likely to see those on more late model cars and guys running boats and old school stuff for the blower, for the root style blowers. Yeah, this is on 91 octane. What kind of fuel is in the L32? We're running 91 octane, 91 California pump gas. So the dwell time is different. So what do you think about on the pin offset then? If the dwell time is different, is it going to want different ignition timing? What fuel injectors are needed to run E85 on 3800? You just need to tell me what kind of power you're looking for. Then you just multiply it out and figure out the injector size that you need to run E85 because it's going to require a lot more E85 fuel flow. So the injectors have to be bigger than the same power output on gasoline. There is a difference between the Whipple blower. It's an older design, and the Kenny Bell. It has a it's a 4 and 6 rotor pack, I think, on the Kenny Bell. It's a little bit more modern design. But again, if you're kind of splitting hairs, you're putting a supercharger on something, and if you're worried about turning it all the way up, you know, maybe just go get a bigger blower. The monsters here. So you have 60-pound injectors, so 60, 60, 120. So you can make 120 horsepower per cylinder, naturally aspirated. You could make, I don't know, 90 or 100 under boost, let's say, and then 70 or 80 at E85. So let's say 70 to be, you know, conservative. You have 6 cylinders. You know, you're looking at, what is that, 450 or something, 420. For low boost, there's a bolt-in on checking the idler pulley. It could be installed backwards. The idler pulley could be installed backwards. Less boost because of the ultra cold intercooler. We don't have an intercooler on it. So you think, Tim, you think it'll be a little insensitive on like possibly 1 or 2 degrees or something? I mean, we will definitely have to do a timing sweep on it just to find out how it responds. But in all of our discussions over the last few days, we've come to the same kind of conclusion that it looks like it's going to be very, very minimal change from flipping the pistons over, which is still sends us down toward the road that we don't know if there's going to be a big power change. I'm not certain the belt is slipping. We're not seeing any dust. It is the factory setup, the factory tensioner, the factory belt, factory pulleys, and usually that's not a problem. I mean, even at 5,000 RPM, and even at 3,000 RPM, the power seems like it's down and the boost seems like it's down. Does anybody know what factory timing is on an L32? I don't know what the factory computer is. We're running this on a Holly. How sensitive is the dyno to small horsepower changes? Well, when we make back-to-back runs, it needs to be on the same number. So it's the dyno is repeatable perfectly. But is the engine repeatable perfectly? That's the question. The dyno can keep doing what the dyno does. Joseph, you're saying these things only have 15 degrees at wide open throttle? We don't have that vacuum line capped under there. We actually are using that for our map sensor. The compression is all perfect, and the leak down is perfect. The head's cured all of that. I was just curious if somebody knew the timing numbers. I don't need somebody to give me the timing numbers so that I can tune this. We can already do that. We already do that. And the way that we do it is not by getting somebody else that is a tuner tell us what it is, because they can't tell us what the dyno tells us. It doesn't matter how good a tuner they are, how long they've been working on this motor, what they know, how great they are, how big they are on the internet. None of that makes any difference. What makes a difference is we run it and we start it with 15 degrees, and then, and even if that's 16 and it's not exactly 15, whatever the number is, we start there, and then we go, okay, it made this much power. Let's add a degree and see what happens. Okay, we add a degree of timing. Hey, look, it made more power. It liked that timing. Okay, well, it liked that. It made a pretty good jump. Let's add another degree. Okay, well, we add another degree. Hey, it liked that, and we keep doing that until it stops liking that. And then we start knowing when we're getting close, because as you add timing, it makes a pretty good jump in power. And then as you start getting close to the maximum timing number, it stops adding power. It has very little effect. Like, let's say that you gain 5 horsepower from your timing change, and then you gain 5 horsepower, and then you gain 3 horsepower, and then you only gain 1 horsepower. Well, you don't really have to keep going, because you know that you're like right there. When you see very little change, you're near or at the maximum timing for that motor. So it doesn't make any difference what some other expert says the timing should be. The dyno and the motor tell us what it wants. And then the same thing for air fuel. We'll try 11 to 1, let's say, on a supercharged motor. We may lean it out a little bit. Let's try 11.3, 11.5, 11.8, and see how it responds. We don't normally go crazy on the air fuel. For one, it's normally not real responsive to that. And for two, even if it is responsive to that, we're not going to go to 13 to 1 on a supercharged motor, because it's probably going to break. So we know better than that. So even if we're chasing that and it keeps going up in power, we don't keep going. And we also don't keep doing that with timing. I don't go to, if we're adding timing, even if it's adding power on a turbo or supercharged application, I won't keep going to 30 degrees and blow the motor up, even if it's gaining timing. We have a stopping point there as well. Let's see, quick check. Take the belt off and the idler pulley. There should be no play. Are you saying that the idler pulley shouldn't spin? I don't know, everything looks pretty good. Play as in wobble. Here, I'll go show you. This thing doesn't spin quite as nice as I would like it. This one doesn't spin quite as nice as I would like it. This one spins nice. I like that. No run out. This one doesn't spin quite as nice as I would like it. Although here we go. I don't think that's a problem. There's no play in it. This spins like I remember them. These might need to be cleaned a little bit. This one too. You know, I got a few. I can check a few things. Yep, the blower is worn out. You can tell just from me spinning it, the blower is worn out. Is it not making enough noise when we spin it? An 04 SS Impala, cable throttle body, manual, man advised. 240 horsepower was the L67 rating, but not on the L32s. It was higher than that. Swap the pulley for the small one. Well, right now it just has a stock snout on it. I don't even have a pulley change kit for it. If the blower coupler is shot, rock it back and forth. You'd hear the slop. Yeah, I know what the coupler is. The coupler is connected. No, that's nice and tight. There's no slop in the coupler. I can feel we can feel the rotor spinning. All of that's working fine. Yeah, I've changed couplers before. We know what that is, but the coupler has to be really bad for it to be doing this. Woo, 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 woo. Yeah, we can feel the weight of the lobes. 260 for the thing. Yeah, so still that should be, I'm thinking that still should be 300. Yeah, the coupler's shot all together and the pulley's not connected to the rotors, and it's not going to make any boost. Broken coupler? Nope, the coupler's fine. Can you squirt some light oil in the blower to see if the boost goes up? It's missing 0.4 liters, and the interesting thing is that this is making about the same as that stock 4200, as a 2005 4200 made. No, everything's, as a matter of fact, this blower feels tight. It actually feels really good. There's not a lot of slop in the coupler. There's not a lot of noise from the everything. It actually feels pretty good. Right now we're running at 60 pounds of fuel pressure, I think. My other blower, unfortunately, is over my storage area, and I can't go get it. I have to get it in the morning. This thing made 200, and we can go ahead and take a look at the dyno results, or I can make a run. I think somebody sent me one of these blowers already that has the upgrade, and I bought pulley upgrades for it. I bought the snout. We put a new gasket under the blower. The bypass valve is not opening because we held it closed manually. I didn't see is the alternator still attached? The alternator is still there. It's just being used as an idler. You want to see the bypass? All right. Hopefully I can reach over there. I think I can. Here's the bypass valve. Here's our boost reference for the bypass valve. We don't have our solenoid hooked up because we're not controlling the bypass valve. We don't ever want to have we don't want to have the bypass valve actually open. I've adjusted the bypass valve down so that it stays closed because that's what was happening. Is this thing was actually hanging open, but now you can see she's pretty snappy now. And like I said, we stood in here and held the valve closed, so, and it did exactly the same thing as it's doing right now when we run it without somebody in here. It's only showing about 5 pounds. Testing it this way on the engine dyno is worth more than 10 horsepower. This is like Blue's Clues. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the thing. What it's missing is 2 or 3 pounds of boost, and 2 or 3 pounds of boost is going to be 20 or 30 horsepower. You know, it's going to put it right up where I think it should be. Yeah, the rotors feel good. We don't have any electronics hooked up to the PCB. We should probably, I should probably, what I want to do is just make cover plates for everything, basically. But you know what that reminds me? Somebody was putting on the, whoever said PCB might have something. I'm going to check something right now. Let's see here. Okay, we might have found it. Let's go take a look. Tell me if you guys think that this is it. See this right here? Wall. Doesn't that go into the lower manifold? Yeah! So what do you guys think? Is that it? Big old EGR leak? I think I better start this thing up and run it again, right? Yeah, it should definitely be tight. Let's see if that makes a difference. See, that's why I have you guys here. So you guys can help out. Going on there? Well, you are going on there. I'm telling you, you are. Oh yeah, that's happening. Yes. All right, what do you say we try it again, huh? All right, let's go into the console room and I can get everything started up. Let's make sure that I do not sure that I do not. I got all my cords here going every which way. Make sure that I don't unplug you guys again, because then I can't get you back. That's the problem. Once I do that, there's no coming back. Yeah, I know. I gotta put the belt on. I got you. Thank you for reminding me. I gotta turn the pumps on. I got a lot of stuff to do here. Okay, let's get things going here. Did you guys miss me? Okay. I'll be back. Okay, we're gonna give it a try. So I'm gonna bring you guys over here, and you can maybe watch the boost. I don't think we have that hooked up. You can go over here and watch the boost gauge. How about that? That'll be fun. So it's right here. That's boost gauge. You can air feel too. This will make a difference. I don't think that's our problem. Got a lot more boost. It's not starting out very high. So let's do a little tuning here. It's not really making any more power. So let's see where we are. Still, okay, that's fine. And a little bit of 4,000. Okay, it's showing more boost now, but the weird thing is it's not really. Kind of making peak torque during the load in there and not really making a ton more power. Despite the fact that we're seeing a lot more boost now than we were. I'm a little confused. Work to do. I got the I've got to do the turbo stuff. You know, we'll put that on and see what happens. I still don't understand. The boost definitely came up by fixing that EGR. I'm putting my feet on there now. Got to ruin everything. That's one small step. The timing's fixed right now. It's fixed at 22. The inlet air temp can't drop timing. We don't allow it to do that. We're hoping that this is the compound setup. Unfortunately, I just want to make sure that this thing's running right before we even, put the turbo on. Boost blow by. We don't. The leak down on this thing was perfect. The ECU can't retard timing based on pressure because we have it fixed in there. Yeah, we're running a Holley EFI on it. It's actually an LS1 harness and coil packs. I don't know about the I don't know about inlet air temp. We're not monitoring that right now. Yeah, I saw almost 10 pounds at the top. The EGR is not putting it into a runner, right? The EGR is putting at least the way that this is set up, the EGR is putting it below the blower. It made 275 horsepower, 272 horsepower, I think. Yeah, 274. The power is 274, but the boost is way up from what it was before. I don't understand why it's not. I mean, we saw a big change in boost right before. It was hovering at 5 pounds for the whole run. I was expecting somewhere near 300 horsepower. Kevin, this one's rated at 260. No, I think that something is going on. I don't understand. This thing should be making more power. I still think we might be able to do our test, but all right, Mark, we'll see you. The air fuel in that pole was 11.4. So what I'm going to do is make a run with less and just kind of see what happens. Yeah. It made a little bit less power, you know, a couple, 1 or 2 or whatever. And I took 2 degrees of timing out of it. See how you guys can maybe see there, maybe a little bit closer. So now I don't know what's worse, not having the boost or having the boost and not having the power. That seems like a much worse kind of combination. There should be more than that now that the boost has come up so far. I don't understand what the problem is. Ooh, that looks good. Air feels good. Obviously the timing is good. We're very close on the timing. And unfortunately, it didn't result in a whole bunch more power, but I got a lot of cool stuff going on, and thanks, Tim, for the information on the piston flip deal. We'll see how all of that works out. Got some cool testing tomorrow on intake manifolds, and hopefully we can run this as well with the turbo on it and see what happens. And I'm gonna, when we put the turbo on it, we're gonna run E85 on it, so you know we can make power safely. This is already now getting the boost, you know, 8 or 9 pounds or whatever. That's as much as I would kind of want to run on pump gas with any kind of spicy timing in it, even though we've already run 22. But if we're going to put the turbo on it, obviously the boost is going to go up. Now we're going to run an air-to-water intercooler between the turbo and the blower, and then also we'll run E85 on it to make sure that, you know, everything is the way it's supposed to be. Thank you guys for showing up. Hopefully I'll see you tomorrow, and I'll see if I can't talk maybe Dulcich and Freiberger into doing a little sit down and maybe doing a live feed with me. We'll see. You know, they're they're pretty busy guys, so we'll see how all that works out. But they're good peeps. I'll talk to you guys all tomorrow. Thank you for showing up.